The Dog and the Shadow. Once upon a time, the sun hung low over the sleepy village, casting long golden shadows across the dusty streets. Max, a scrawny, stray dog with ribs peeking through his fur, trotted along the narrow alleys, his nose twitching at the faint scent of meat. Hunger gnawed at his belly like an impatient beast, and his paws ached from days of wandering without a decent meal. His luck had been running dry, until now. Just outside a butcher's shop, a half-chewed, juicy bone lay abandoned, glistening under the fading sunlight. Max's heart pounded with excitement. Food. Real food. Without a second thought, he lunged forward, snatched it up between his sharp teeth, and held it tight. The rich taste of marrow filled his mouth, a long-forgotten luxury. This was more than just a meal. It was a victory, a prize after days of struggle. He wouldn't let it go, not for anything. With his newfound treasure, Max padded away from the busy village, heading toward his usual resting spot by the old mill. His ears twitched at the sound of barking in the distance. Other dogs. He quickened his pace, his eyes darting around cautiously. They would want what he had, but he wasn't about to share. He had fought too hard for this, and he knew that in the world of strays, only the clever and cautious survived. His journey led him to a rickety wooden bridge, stretching over a calm, glistening river. The water below mirrored the warm hues of the evening sky, a perfect reflection of the world above. As Max stepped onto the bridge, his keen eyes caught something in the water. Another dog. But not just any dog. Please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. This dog looked exactly like him, but there was one difference that made Max's breath hitch in his throat. The bone in the other dog's mouth was bigger, meatier, more delicious. Max froze, his grip tightening around his own bone. His instincts flared. Was this a rival? Had another stray found an even better prize? That couldn't be. He was the lucky one today. He had found the best bone. And yet, there it was. A better one, right in front of him. Greed whispered in his ear. If he had this bone, why not have that one too? Why settle for less? His tail stiffened, his mind racing. He growled low, a warning to the dog in the water, but to his shock, the other dog growled right back. Max took a step forward, baring his teeth. The dog did the same. It was a challenge, a standoff between two determined strays, each unwilling to surrender their prize. Please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. The thought gnawed at him. If he could just snatch that bone, he'd have the biggest feast of his life. He had to take it. He had to win. And then, in a single impulsive moment, Max made his move. Max's heart pounded as he stared into the river, eyes locked on the dog below. The growling had done nothing. The other dog was just as stubborn, just as unwilling to let go of its prize. Frustration bubbled inside him. Why should that dog have a bigger bone? The thought gnawed at his pride. He couldn't let this stand. He had survived on the streets by being clever, by taking what he needed. And he needed that bone. His muscles tensed, his mind clouded by hunger and greed. He let out a sharp bark, hoping to startle his rival into dropping its bone. But the other dog barked back just as fiercely. The sound echoed through the quiet air, sending ripples across the water. Max's eyes burned with determination. Fine. If barking wouldn't work, then he would have to take it by force. Without hesitation, Max lunged forward, jaws snapping open to grab the bone from his rival's mouth. But the moment his teeth parted, his own bone, his hard-earned precious bone, slipped from his grip. He barely had time to react before it tumbled into the water below with a soft splash. His heart dropped. Panic shot through him as he watched the bone sink beneath the surface, swallowed by the river's quiet current. He scrambled, claws scratching against the wooden planks of the bridge as he leaned over, eyes desperately searching for a way to retrieve it. But it was too late. The bone was gone. Gone forever. Max stood frozen, his mouth empty, his reflection staring back at him in the water. The truth hit him like a stone in the chest. There was no other dog. There never had been. It had been his own reflection all along. The bone he had tried to steal had been nothing but an illusion. And in chasing that illusion, he had lost the very thing he had worked so hard to find. Regret flooded his body like a cold wave. His stomach growled, a cruel reminder of what he had thrown away. If only he had been satisfied. If only he hadn't been so greedy. If only he had held on to what he already had, instead of chasing something that was never real. Please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. A soft rustling from a nearby tree broke the silence. Max looked up to see an old owl perched on a low-hanging branch, watching him with wise, knowing eyes. The owl tilted its head and spoke in a calm, steady voice. "Not everything you chase is real, but what you lose is..." The words cut deep. Max swallowed hard, his ears flattening against his head. He had been a fool, a greedy, reckless fool. And now he had nothing to show for it but his own hunger and regret. For the first time in his life, Max wasn't just hungry for food. He was hungry for wisdom. A lesson learned too late, but a lesson nonetheless. Max stood frozen on the bridge, his empty mouth slightly open as the river below swallowed the last trace of his lost bone. The realization of his mistake sat heavy in his chest, pressing down like an unbearable weight. He had given up something real for an illusion. His own greed had tricked him, and now he was left with nothing. His stomach growled loudly, reminding him of what he had lost. He licked his dry lips and lowered his head, ears drooping. If only he had been satisfied. If only he had held on a little tighter instead of chasing something that was never there. A deep sigh escaped him as he slowly stepped away from the bridge, his paws feeling heavier with each step. The old owl, still perched nearby, watched him with calm, unblinking eyes. Not everything you chase is real, but what you lose is. The words echoed in Max's mind, each syllable sinking in deeper than the last. He had been foolish, blinded by greed, tricked by his own reflection. For the first time in his life, Max felt something heavier than hunger. He felt regret. But regret wouldn't fill his belly, and it wouldn't bring back what he had lost. All he could do now was learn. Never again would he make the same mistake. Dragging his paws along the dirt road, Max wandered back toward the village. The once comforting scent of food from the marketplace now only reminded him of what he had thrown away. The butcher's shop where he had found the bone was empty, the remains of the day's scraps long gone. He had no choice but to keep moving, hoping he would find another chance. A second shot at survival. Please like the video and subscribe our YouTube channel. As he walked past a small farmhouse on the edge of the village, a soft whistle caught his attention. A kind-faced villager, an old man with a weathered smile, stood outside, tossing small pieces of bread to the birds. Max hesitated. Would the man chase him away? But instead of shooing him off, the villager crouched down and patted the ground, a silent invitation. "Come here, boy," he said gently. Max's tail gave a hesitant wag as he slowly approached. To his surprise, the man reached into a small cloth bag and pulled out a fresh piece of meat. He held it out, waiting patiently. Max sniffed the food cautiously, then took it in his mouth, warm, soft, and real. A deep sense of gratitude filled him. Patience had rewarded him in the end. As he lay down beneath the farmhouse porch, enjoying the meal, Max reflected on the lesson he had learned. He had lost something because of his own greed, but fate had given him another chance. And this time, he would cherish what he had, instead of chasing illusions. Moral of the story: first, chasing illusions can make you lose real treasures. Second, greed blinds you to what you already have.